Marianne. And hello, everybody. It is Tom Chenault, and it is the Legacy Leadership Radio Show. And I fired Adrian because this show is so heart-centered. It's unbelievable. I do not need any brains on this show today. I need love. I need heart. I need Christopher Voss. He'll be with us this week. And then the king of Love Like Crazy, Then Love More, Mr. John Milton Fogg, will be next week's guest. So we have got a lineup coming for you where they are coming from the heart, which will help us announce a new podcast from Tom Chenault that's going to blow your mind. That my right-hand woman, the one and only, I can't even think of her name right now. What's your name? Michelle Griot. I was kidding. She doesn't even know about it because I just decided on the way down the road talking to Richard Bliss Brook about how I'm going to do it because it just came to me in a flash, and I will have Christopher back to be on that show too. So it's a pretty doggone exciting day. I love all of you, and I am more pumped right now at age 74 about my life and my legacy than I've been in the previous 73 years. A lot of it has to do with the heart of the man that we're introducing right now. I will be looking down at my phone a little bit, so don't think that means I'm not paying attention to Chris. I am sharing this out to a bunch of Facebook pages I normally don't do because this one is from the heart, and I love this guy. Chris Voss, how are you, buddy?
Oh, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much. You're so kind. Any opportunity to talk about what we're going to talk about, I love, and I'm really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you so much.
Talk about your podcast a little bit because people need to know. I mean, you've got a Bad to the Bone podcast of your own. You are all over LinkedIn. You are a legend in your own right. Talk about your podcast real quickly.
Thank you so much. One of the things is, we never get to where we are by ourselves. And so I started a podcast called We Rise Together. And the whole purpose of that is to interview people and talk about those that help them rise to where they're at. And we had a great interview by the name of Ben Kerr, Olympic wrestler, wrestled Russians, received gold medals, and he was born with Cruzan syndrome and just all these problems and medical issues, but he rose above that. And then there were certain people in his life that helped him rise to where he was. And so we like to get on the show. We like to let's talk about where you're at. And let's talk about who helped you get there, because that's what life is all about, is all of us helping each other, getting to those levels that we want to go to, and we rise together. So that's the essence of the podcast. And it's just getting going, and we've got some really great guests lined up. We're super excited about it. And so We Rise Together is live. You can check it out. You can find it on podcast or all the places you download your content and your media.
Well, now we've got me 100% with you, so I can actually pay attention to what you're saying. I want to make sure I got this thing out to just a lot of Facebook groups that, your message, and I just forgot one and I'm going to think of this woman's name. I know you know her, that is all about trauma, all about making the world a better place. And in my life here at age 74, I mean, you guys know me. I've been around a long, long time. I got in the network marketing profession in 1988, which is before most of you were born. And I have been monomaniacal about just connection and relationships and everything else since then. But along with my sobriety, my mission and my legacy keeps coming more into focus. And I'm finding for me that almost everything that goes on in my life is love-centered now. I mean, I like the fact that I've got a lot of track record in mergers and acquisitions and in stocks and stuff like that, looks good on paper, but it doesn't look good. I mean, it just means nothing to me anymore. What means something to me is guys like Chris and his message. So let's go straight there, talk about that a little bit. Why your podcast, and what is it you want to be when you grow up?
Everything. So I run a company called Return on Relationship, ROR. There it is right over there. You can see in the background. And then, of course, we got Rise for the Rise podcast. But ROR stands for Return on Relationship. People are always talking about, what is your ROI? What is your ROI? What is your ROI? And really, really what it comes down to is, what is your ROR? Because if you have a good return on relationship, if you have a good ROR, you're going to have a great ROI and everything's going to turn out just fine. And where ROR came from was, people are like, well, Christopher, where is this? Where does this come from? And I remember as a child, so I was a mama's boy and I would follow my mom around. My mom would run errands around town and I was always go with her. And she'd go to really interesting places that 8 and 10-year-old boys like to go to. The wallpaper store, the paint store, the bow shop, the flower shop, the bank. And so I'd follow my mom around. And I remember as a child, she would go up to the bank and she would drop off gifts for the tellers. She would drop off perfume. She would drop off treats, all different kinds of things she'd drop off for the tellers. And then also, I know, Tom, you're a little bit older than me, but you'll remember this. Those of you who are watching don't remember this, but banks were really different when I was a child. Banks weren't big global banks. They were like one-off banks. Like you go to the bank in the corner and that was like the bank and there were no other branches. It was just, that was it. And the guy behind the big desk was usually the principal or bank founder. And he was there with a pocket square and a tie and a 3-piece suit. And that was the guy that made decisions for the bank. And so my mom would take ties and different things for him too as well. And so when I was older and I had return on relationship and I was teaching this to people and I was helping people do it, I remember as a child going in one time with my mom and she had a really big check that she had to cash. My dad was an attorney. There was some big settlement or whatever, and he had to cash this check for his client because for some reason he couldn't. So my mom went into the bank, and back in those days, when you went in with a large check, they couldn't scan it through like a barcode scanner and know if the check was good. And if it was a $10,000 check, I'm going to give you $10,000 out of my bank, my drawers here. Is this bank, is this check going to bounce on the other end? So what they usually have to do back then is they'd have to pick up the phone and call the institution and say, hey, I've got this check made out to so-and-so. It's for this amount. Are there funds available? Can I give this person the money? That's how they did it in the olden days. Now they just scan it through and, they have electronic ways of checking it. But anyway, the woman made the phone call. She came back up to the teller window. Well, actually, it wasn't windows. Back then, I don't know. It was just different back then. They didn't have big, tall things of glass. It's just different. She came back up to the counter and she said, Mrs. Voss, I'm sorry, but I can't get a hold of the other institution about this check. But could you hold on for just 1 second? She came out from around the counter. She went over to the guy at the big desk and they had this little conversation. And I remember hearing part of the conversation where I heard him say this: for Mrs. Voss, anything. She came back to the desk, went back up to the counter, and she said to my mom, would you like that in big bills and small bills? And we were out of the bank. And so that always struck me. And I thought about it when I was older. I'm like, why did they do that? I'm like, the bank, the principal or the bank manager, the owner of the bank, and he was willing to extend himself. He knew my mom. He knew my mom because my mom established a relationship with him. My mom established a relationship. The teller wouldn't even have gone around the counter and approached the big guy at the desk if she didn't have a relationship with my mom, where she knew that my mom would not walk in that bank with a check that wasn't good, that couldn't be cashed, that was a good check. And so she knew, she liked, she trusted my mom. The bank guy, the big guy behind the big desk, he knew, liked, and trusted my mom. And so when my mom was in a situation where she needed help, she needed to get this check cashed, they couldn't get a hold of the institution, they were willing to do that for her because they knew, liked, and trusted her. And so that is something that just sunk with me. And so as we're in this world, I mean, everyone has goals. Everyone is like, okay, I want to achieve this in 2025. This is my goals. This is where I want to go. This is the levels that I want to go. These are the businesses I want to start. This is how much I want to grow my business. People, if they can just understand that you can go far as a group, you can go far with individuals, you can go really far if you have relationships that will help get you there. And so it's so important to focus on building those relationships, loving on people, spending time with them, doing things for them, not expecting anything in return. My mom, all the times she took out those treats and the perfume and the ties, she wasn't looking for anything in return, but there was a day that came where she needed help and they were willing to help her and extend their hand to her because of that. And so that sunk in with me. And so as a kid, I'd go out and blow our snow in our driveway or shovel it. I'd do 8 of the neighbors' houses. And, that type of return on relationship came back because they did things for my family. They did, maybe there's a day that we couldn't get out and blow the snow at the end of the drive. So Tom, you do your snow as a kid, and then the plows would come through and they plow the end of your driveway closed after you get done with the snow. So you always have to go out and move that snow. But that's the return on relationship. That's the reciprocity. And so return on relationship came from when I was a kid. And if we have time for it here, we can get into it later. But I'm alive. I'm on this podcast live. I'm on this interview with you. I would be dead. My 9 children would be fatherless, and my wife would be a widow if it was not for a relationship. It's a really cool story. So that's the heart of everything.
And what you don't know is that John Milton Fogg, the famous author who's on here, and I are writing a book. And the book is called Love Like Crazy, Then Love More. And the entire crux of the book is what you are talking about. What you do, the relationship that you were able to draw on, and we're going to tell that story about what saved your life. And your mother at the bank had the BLTs with the banker. And what's that mean? A bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich? No, BLTS, just like this shirt. That means that banker, your mom, that banker knew that he believed in your mom, that your mom belonged in his tribe. That banker knew that he loved your mom. That banker knew that he could trust your mom. And that banker knew he was safe with your mom. So there is no way on earth he was going to do anything, because he knew her far more than the contract of a check. He knew there was no variable whatsoever because of those 4 things. And that's what we all have to do to build relationships in our life that are right and rich. And you hit the nail on the head. That's what you do, right?
Absolutely. That is what we do. And, we're kind of in a trust recession. I mean, there's so many things going on.
Absolutely.
People when I get a text message from someone, when I get an email from someone, when I get a DM from someone, did they write this or did AI write this? I mean, AI, there's some great things about it, but people are like, you can't underestimate the power of sending someone a card, sending them a note in the mail. This is a complete giveaway, and I teach this in our course, but when I tell people to write notes to people, I tell them to purposely make a mistake in the note.
Yeah, for sure.
Cross something out, make a mistake, erase something.
Typo the crap out of that thing. You know who does that?
Who?
Gary Vaynerchuk. I sent him 3 notes in 3 different days, and I got 3. He's either dyslexic, can't spell, or he did it on purpose. All 3 notes had a typo in it, and they were all 3 sentences or less. So the biggies are doing that, as well as us pimples. So really, you're 100% right, sir.
I love the quote by Maya Angelou that says, "People will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel." And if you can get someone to feel something, if you can get them to have an emotional reaction, that is where connection's made. Connection's made when you make that emotional connection with someone. Because my wife, she'll remember something I said that was dumb 25 years ago. And I'm like, how in the world can you remember that? And so I was asking a friend of mine who was a therapist, and he said, guys, if you say something, guys just kind of forget about it and they move it on. But women tend to tie emotion with things. And so that's why they never forget it. Like, I remember you said something 25 years ago. And, if you can get emotion tied into that connection, you have something that's anchored for life. And as long as you nurture it, as long as you honor it and love, like you said, on them, you have people that will literally walk through fire for you. And that's what we need nowadays. And we're in a trust recession, and people are very skeptical. And as authentic of a relationship that you can build, you don't know when you're going to need someone's help. You just don't know. And so you want to have, what was it? Brian Tracy says, dig your well before you're thirsty. People are going to get thirsty. Dig them now, because someday you're going to have to tap them.
So how has that, in my life, because I'm not the smartest guy in the room, I'm not the best looking, I'm a closet introvert, and I've done extremely well in business. And the only reason I've done extremely well in business is because I'm so dang good at remembering people and about their lives and things about them that can't be found on Google or social media. That's kind of your secret weapon too, correct?
That is the secret sauce. Go deep, go deep, go deep, go deep. If, it's there. You just got to find it. And you find that one thing. We have a client that is right now working on a deal with somebody. I can't mention the name just because they haven't finished everything yet. But, this guy's a billionaire. And people would give their left arm to be able to do a business deal with this person. And this person looked into the camera at our client and said, you know what? You're a good dude. I trust you. And the reason he said that was because something that was sent to him that was very moving. And it was something that you don't find in Wikipedia. You don't find on their social media. You dig and dig, and then you find that one thing. It's like, remember the movie City Slickers? The guy goes, he held up his fingers and go, what's that? You always told those guys the one thing or the one thing. And so you find that one thing, and you'll blow their minds. And if you do that, people, when you do something, my wife, when I asked her to marry me, before I did that, I did a lot of cool things for her. I bought her nice things. She knew what I was up to. But when I asked the question, spoiler alert, she said, yes, we have 9 kids. But people know what you're up to. But it's how you show up. It's how you do it. That is what makes the difference. People are like, okay, obviously this person's being nice to me because they're a kind person, they're a good person. Maybe there's something they may need help with, or maybe they're going to ask me a question or whatever. But people know that. It's just how you do it, how you show up. And get away from things being transactional, because people, you don't want to do the give and then tie that to a transaction. Keep those separate. The opportunities will come along, but just, give, find that one thing. That is our superpower, Tom. We do find things out about people and they say, how did you know that? How did you find that? We did that for the founder and CEO of Bass Pro Shops. And his response was, how did you figure that? How did you find that? Where did you? So it's all those little things. So it's fun. It's a wonderful job to be able to put smiles on people's faces, connect people, and just make people feel good. It's great.
You just mentioned your course. Tell people what your course is, what you teach people to do. When's the next course? What's that look like, and how do they get hold of it?
Thank you. So I'm a relationship guy, so I'll make this really easy for you. If you go to Facebook, you look for Christopher Voss, VOS. A lot of times, sometimes people, I'm Christopher Voss or Chris Voss, the guy that teaches the interrogation stuff and all of that. I've had people reach out to me thinking I'm him, and I wasn't. But if you go to Facebook, look for Christopher Voss, send me a direct message, and we'll find out what it is your needs are, what you're trying to do, and then I'll be glad to direct you into either participating in one of our groups where we teach you the ROR method. The ROR method is a step-by-step process that we teach. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. And if you follow these processes, the reason that we have a process, it doesn't make it unauthentic. It's that some people just aren't good. It's not my wheelhouse. I'm not a giver. I'm not a good gift giver. I don't come up with good ideas. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. And so please give me a blueprint that I can follow, that if I follow these steps, I'm going to have a pretty good chance at getting this person's attention and building a relationship with them. And I finally figured out the title of my book. So I got a book coming out too. It's called Know, Like, and Trust. And basically the essence of the book is teaching people how to get to them to know you, like you, and trust you. And so we're finishing that up now. Super excited about that. So yeah, find me on Facebook, Christopher Voss, send me a direct message. I'll be glad to be able to direct you to where we can help you build relationships, learn how to build them, and build your network. Your network does equal your net worth.
Sure it does. Talk to me about that. So I'm very, very proud of Michelle. She walked in, she looked at me in the eye and she said, his daughter's doing great, because she just went through a huge health procedure. And then she said to me, but his mom's got some issues. And then she said his other 8 kids are fine. And I don't know how many people know that about your family. In a nutshell, she was able to tell me completely about your personal life up in Michigan. And that's what I love about relationships that I've got, is people actually care way beyond what you've got and what you've got to give us. And there's a book out there called Give First by Brad Feld. And he's a billionaire. And his entire supposition, we interviewed him a month ago, is exactly what Christopher's talking about. Give with no agenda first. And if you can get the hang of that and stop keeping score, you're going to win this thing. And that's what I train. That's what Christopher trains. And he just faced the chips being down at a level you wouldn't have believed. And his philosophy paid off. Talk about your daughter, and then talk about your health scare that had you almost dead, and you came back to life because of a person. And talk about that too, please.
Absolutely. My daughter, so, she had some headaches. She fainted once. She had some numbness in her arm and tingliness in her back. So we took her to the pediatrician. They thought, chiropractor, here's this for your headaches. And they called us and said, no, we got some, you know what, we're going to do an MRI just to kind of check. So they did an MRI and got a call right away and said, you need to see the neurologist immediately. Your daughter has a serious brain condition. And so this all happened within 2.5 weeks. And where we live in Michigan, of course, my daughter has a major brain issue. Her brain was too big for her skull. So her brain is falling out the back of her skull, forcing pressure into her brain stem and inside of her brain, creating all these fluid pockets in her back. And that's causing nerve damage and tingliness. And just 5 degrees was bad. She was 15. So we went from pediatrician to neurosurgeon really fast. But how this all ties into return on relationship, what I teach and what I do for a living, you tie into everything. So I went into full return on relationship mode, full build relationship mode. So we did research on the surgeon that we were going to go see and found out everything we could about her. And we found out that she loved Wonder Woman. Now, Tom, this happened so fast. I didn't have time to go get the perfect thing, but I knew that Target sold superhero socks and shirts and stuff. So I found a Target in the area that had Wonder Woman socks because she loves Wonder Woman. Put them in a bag, put a little nice note. We went in to see the surgeon and handed her the gift. She said, should I open this now? Yeah, go ahead and open it now. She opened it up. She pulled out the socks and she looked at it. She goes, you guys did your research on me, didn't you? We're like, yeah, we did. And she goes, this is so amazing. Normally people give me gifts after I fix them, not before I fix them. So she was really appreciative. Surgeons are busy, so normally they don't spend a lot of time. This surgeon stayed with us until we almost had to say, okay, you can leave now. It's okay. You can go. We're all right. But she put us in one of the best. There was a special operating room. They just had this new operating room and they can do imaging before and after. And it was state of the art. And she said, I'm going to put you in that operating room. And she did this. She scheduled the surgery within a week and a half or 2 weeks, super fast. And she worked it all in. And she just bent over backwards to help us out as much as we could, made sure that we felt comfortable and that we didn't walk away scared or worried about what was going to happen with our daughter. And so we walked out of her office knowing that everything was going to be okay and that we had the best possible care. We had the best surgeon, and all from a pair of Wonder Woman socks. And that did it for me. So with me, my own personal story, we both know a guy by the name of Russell Brunson. He runs a SaaS company called ClickFunnels, and super great guy. Russell Brunson is my ground zero. In the digital marketing space that we all run, he was one of the first people I tried to build a relationship with and connect with. And then from Russell, I met all these other wonderful people. Russell's a dear friend of mine, and I've met so many incredible people from that dear friend. And I met a guy named Wallace Nelson, and Wallace ran a health and wellness program. Tom, I was scratching at 400 pounds. I was 396, 398, call it 400 pounds. I hadn't taken care of my body. eating poorly, diabetic, all the bad check boxes that you can have. And so Wallace, I ROR'd him and built a relationship with him and did things for him and just really built that bond and connection with him. After building a bond and connection with all of these other people, starting with Russell Brunson, the next person, the next person, the next person. And that's why there's connectivity to this chain of people that you know. So Wallace said, Christopher, I'm going to put you in my health and wellness program. I want to help you. I want to coach you. I want to get you healthy. I care about you. You've got 9 kids. I don't want your kids to be fathers. I want your wife to be a widow. Now, this guy charges tens of thousands of dollars to personally coach people. Like he coaches some really big people and charges $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. He said, I'm going to coach you. I don't want you to pay me a single dime. I'm going to help you. So I lost all this weight, was doing fantastic, doing great. And then I had a stroke. And people are like, well, that didn't really help you. But I said, yes, it did. I said, 400-pound Chris probably wouldn't have survived the stroke. Lighter Chris survived the stroke.
Yep.
And it was because of this one person giving a return on relationship back to me. And I can't remember what it was I did for Wallace. I'm sure I sent him some things and just served him somehow. But so, to the point of, I'm going to eat this, I shouldn't eat this, send a text message. Hey, Wallace, I'm feeling weak. I'm going to eat this. Christopher, don't. Keep your eye on the ball. Keep you focused. And that was the one-on-one attention that he gave me. So when I was sitting in my bed, I recorded a video for my children. And the reason that I recorded that was because sometimes if you have another stroke or you get a wave number 2 and something happened to me, I wanted my kids to have a video from their dad, a last video. And I watch that video from time to time to help remind me not to go back. And the reason when I recorded that video, I had my phone in my hand and I gave it back to my wife. And she said, hey, I'm going to give this back to you. And I said, I don't want my phone anymore. I was emotional about recording this video and I just didn't want to do it with my phone. She's like, well, you got a text message. I think you want to check it. And I said, no, you keep it. And she's convinced me, and I took my phone back and I looked at one of the text messages, and it was from my dear friend, Russell Brunson. And he said, Christopher, I heard what happened to you. And I want you to know that we're praying for you. My family's praying for you. And if there's anything we can do for you and your family, please let us know. And then a couple seconds later, another text message and another text message. And they were passing my number around because they heard what had happened to me. And so there's a period of time in my life where I was at the lowest I think I'd ever been. I was scared. I was worried I was going to die. I wasn't going to see my family again. And all these people started reaching out to me and messaging me and telling me they're thinking of me and if there's anything I can do. And so that is the best return on relationship I could ever ask for, is that's my life. And so when I came out of that, I thought, I'm going to spend the rest of my life teaching people how to do this, because how many other people out there, maybe it's not a stroke, maybe their business is going to, what's going to happen to their business? What relationship do they need to go out and make that impact that they want to? And so I'm alive because of it. And I text Wallace all the time and say, thank you so much. And he's like, you stop thanking me. And I thank Russell Brunson too as well, because if I never would have tried to establish a relationship with Russell Brunson, I never would have met Wallace. And we were on the beach one time and Russell was beach wrestling, because Russell likes to wrestle as an adult, and we were on the beach, and I never really had a chance to thank him for being brave, because if Russell would have shut his business down, if Russell wouldn't have been brave and done the entrepreneurial thing, and Russell got to where he was at through relationships. I was on an interview with Russell and he said, I didn't grow ClickFunnels because of Facebook. I grew ClickFunnels because of relationships. And so we were on the beach and I was putting sunblock on Russell. It was really funny. And, you're rubbing and putting sunblock on a guy in places that you just normally aren't touching somebody.
I love this story, yeah.
And his skin is completely white and pale. And so I'm putting the sunblock on, and he kind of lifts up his arms, and I kind of get up there in his arms and getting in places so he doesn't get sunburned on the beach. And he looks over my shoulder, or looks over his shoulder and says, "Christopher, this is the best ROR ever." And we had a really good laugh about it. But I looked at him, I said, "Russell, I want to thank you for saving my life." And, he doesn't he's the type of person, don't talk about me. It's just, he's an introvert. But I just wanted to thank him for saving my life, because he was brave and started his company and created that connection and relationship to Wallace. And I'm forever grateful for that. And so all of us are going to have those moments in our life. And that's why you want to build these relationships and make these connections, because you do not know. I did not know that was going to happen to me, but that relationship came into play and made a difference on that. And so that's why I'm alive, because of a relationship. And to add to that story, if we have time, I really would love to add one more thing to that story, if we do have time, but I'll let you guide this, Tom.
No, Glenn, I would tell it. I want to hear it. This is so important, everybody. It's the secret to life, as well as the secret to having a great business. And what he's trying to tell you is he developed a lot of relationships. He drilled the well before its time, having no idea he was going to need to call on some people to really help him out of a jackpot that he was in. But had he just had, most of us, I'm going down to the ANMP tomorrow, and everybody's going to say, "Tom, you're a great guy," probably, and because they don't know me. And can I have your phone number and a picture? So I take a picture and have a phone number. That's it. I go in their phone. I never hear from them again, because that's the way the world kind of turns. The really good people take my picture. The good people take my data down. The good people remember something from our conversation, and then they come back and constantly remind me how great it was to have met me. And that's where it all gets really, really deep, because you're building your database and your Rolodex, or whatever you're trying to call it, with such an unbelievable foundation of love and connection that it becomes your strongest asset, instead of a bunch of faceless numbers in your phone. So tell me the story.
So I'm gonna grab this thing right here. So I keep this as a reminder. It's on my bulletin board over there. And, if you ever have those moments where you're like, well, business is hard, entrepreneurship is hard, I look at this and I go, Christopher, keep going, keep sharing your message, keep sharing this out there. So there's something significant about this letter. So during COVID, my wife had a bump on her head, and it'd been looked at for years and years, and the doctor didn't think it was anything. And then finally they sent us to a dermatologist, and the dermatologist said, "You need to go have an MRI." So during COVID, my wife had an MRI, and I remember her standing in the bedroom, and she was on the phone with the people, and she says, "Okay, so I have a tumor." And it, the C word and T word that you never want your spouse to ever say. And she got off the phone, and I looked to be about like I was going to come unglued, and she looked at me and she says, "I need you to be really strong right now for me." And I'm like, "Okay, I can do that." So my wife had a tumor growing in her skull, and they told us, Tom, it was during COVID, so the hospitals were going crazy. They said, "You can get on a Zoom call with a doctor just to start dialogue in 3 months." So we had an appointment 3 months from that date when she was told she had a tumor to just start the conversation. So I went into full hyper relationship mode and started talking to people and relationships I had with. We got into the number one neurosurgeon that takes that kind of tumor out the next day, and went into his office and had surgery scheduled for 2 weeks later from that date. So she had the surgery, she survived, she did great. The 3-month time came around. We all kind of joked and said, good thing we didn't have to wait 3 months. But during that brain surgery, during her recovery, a friend of mine by the name of Dave Woodward, he was the past CEO of ClickFunnels, mentor of Russell Brunson, super incredible guy. Dave sent me a message and said, "I want to provide a meal for your family. What's your Venmo?" And so during COVID, you could get steak and lobster DoorDash to your house, because that's the only way the restaurant stayed alive, is everyone delivered. So he said, I want you to get a really good meal for you and Jennifer, and I want you to let the kids get whatever they want. So he Venmoed us $1,000.
Jesus.
And we spent, he goes, you can't use it on bills. You can only spend this on food. And so he says, you got to promise me this is only going to food. So we spent $996. The kids ordered Red Robin. They got all the appetizers. Everyone got their own burger. They all got Frecko lemonades and shakes. And my wife and I got lobster tail and steak from a local restaurant. And we spent $996 or something and had a wonderful meal. So here's a freebie for your audience. And this is something I know that you probably teach too as well, Tom. You can't underestimate the power of a thank you note. Send someone a handwritten note. So my wife sent a thank you note to Dave, thanking him for the meal that he provided us for that night. Dave knew that my business got paused. My wife's recovery for her brain surgery, Tom, was really difficult. It took like almost 3 months. She was bedridden for the first month. We fed her breakfast, lunch, and dinner in bed. It was really bad. It was a really tough recovery. So as an entrepreneur, I wasn't down here doing content, talking to people about return on relationship, teaching courses, helping people do stuff. Basically, I had to pause my business. Well, I've got 9 children, and I'm the entrepreneur. I'm the breadwinner. All the money's coming in through my company. So I give you all that backstory to talk about this. When you send those thank you notes, everybody, a lot of people worry about, well, how are they going to be able to get a hold of me? How are they going to be able to reach out to me? If you send someone a note in the mail, there's a wonderful thing you put on the front of the envelope, and that is your first and last name and your return address. If I had the first and last name and the return address of people that we're looking for, because, sometimes when someone wants us to reach out to a celebrity, we have to find their address. Well, if I had their first and last name and their return address, holy smokes, that would be a whole lot easier. We don't have that to go on. So when you send someone a note, left-hand corner of the envelope has your first, last name, and your return address. They can go to social media and they can very easily find you. So it's a great way to give someone a way to find you. It's a way to drop the breadcrumbs without making it look like, hey, I'm giving you my name and address. It's like they get everything on the outside of the envelope. I tell you that for a reason because I reference in the note. So anyway, this letter shows up in the mail. I recognize the return address because it's from my friend. And let me read you the letter. I'm allowed to share this now. Dave has passed away. He died from stage 4 glioblastoma brain cancer. Through relationships, they were helped to extend his life for 18 more months. It was really bad, but love that guy and miss him dearly. But here's the letter. Hey, Christopher. Now, when I read you this letter, folks, if this doesn't solidify the power of a return on relationship and why it's so important that we need to focus on this today, not tomorrow. Hey, Christopher, please accept my apology. This will probably be an odd letter for you to receive. When I offered to provide a meal for your family, I had the distinct impression to send you the enclosed amount. I didn't have your address, and Venmo wouldn't let me send that amount at one time. So I started to doubt the impression that I had. Within a few minutes, I brushed it aside and figured I was a little crazy. Then I received a thank you note from your wife with your address. So I thought I would just send it. Once again, I brushed it off, figuring that you would think I was crazy. That's why it's so critical to make those connections and send those notes, because you give people a way to get back to you, as Dave said in the letter. Dave goes on to say, today I saw your Facebook Live about washing in the River Jordan. I was on the elliptical in the gym and I stopped to enter a note into my phone to make sure I'd send it no matter what. I hate being in the spotlight. I'd appreciate it if you didn't use my name, even with your family, regarding the enclosed, which I do have permission from his wife to share this out to the world because people need to understand the power of this. He said, I plan on sending it honestly, but I need you to know that your Facebook Live today is what finally got me to stop questioning my impression. Thank you for publishing today. Thank you for all you do. Love, Dave. And in that letter was a check for $5,000.
Holy mackerel. And you haven't cashed it?
I did.
Oh, good.
I did cash it. I did cash it. We needed it. But I whited out the routing number and account number. But
that's adorable. Yeah, I was kidding. Good.
But yeah. But that was a time when I didn't know that was going to happen to my wife. I didn't know I'd have to pause my business. things were really tough. I was an entrepreneur. My business wasn't gigantically established, and we had this huge life savings. But Dave wanted to do something for me because of the things that I've done for him and the relationship that I built with him, that he said, I want to help this guy. How can I do it? You know what? I'm going to send him $5,000 because I know that I can help him right now. And so I'll never forget that. And I share this to this day. Anytime I get a chance to speak or I tell people the power of relationship, and people need to understand, you are one relationship away from that person that's going to blow the doors of your business off. It's going to change your life. It's going to save your life. So go find that one, because they're out there, and you just gotta dig your well before you're thirsty. So that's story after story after story, but that's my $5,000 story, and we put that money to good use. Trust me, and just a really great example of how people want to love you back when you love them.
Well, I remember 12 years ago when John Milton Fogg is on here, and his favorite restaurant on the planet was there in his town, and Katusha and Anais. John was telling me about this restaurant and how great it was. And I didn't send him that kind of money, but I sent him enough money for that dinner. And he talks about that all the time, just remembering what a difference it made in his life. And Christopher said, you're one person away from that person that you need to meet. And how about this? What if it's that homeless guy that you met in the gutter in Longmont, Colorado, and you're down on your luck and you're looking at your feet, and as a result, you saw the guy in the gutter, and you walked over to the guy and you had $1 to your name and you gave him the buck, and the guy looked up at you and said, holy cow, thank you. I really, really needed that $1. And the guy said, so do I. And you said, so did I. I really needed the $1 too, but I could tell you needed it more than me. And you started walking away feeling pretty good about it. And the guy chased you down and said, guess what? I know a guy you need to know. And that guy is rich. His name's Tom Chenault. He lives in that building over there. And I want you to go over and tell him what you just did for me, because I have a feeling he's going to be the friend that you need to get you where you want to go in your life. And that's what I want you to think. It might not be that person over there with the Rolls Royce that you're trying to get to and walking over the heads of everybody to get there. It might be that homeless guy sitting in the gutter that knows him, that guy, Tom Chenault, in my case, loves. And I can think of a lot of situations in my life. The only thing I said about that whole story a couple of seconds ago through this is rich. I'm not rich, but I was trying to give you an analogy of, you don't know. And what I have found over all of this time is that the people that are the most successful in my life, bar none, whether it be Harvey McKay, whether it be Bob Bodine, whether it be Sean Murphy, whether it be Christina Hazarihara, can't even say her name, whoever it is, they are love first. And so that takes me to another topic coming out of here that you guys are going to want to know about. And I can't believe I haven't even told my wife I'm going to do this. I announced it at the beginning of the show. I was on a call with Richard Brooke earlier, and I was watching his seemingly spontaneous podcast lives with Al Bala and last week with Jordan Adler. And John Fogg and I are starting this thing called Love Like Crazy, Done Love More. We've got a newsletter in the works, and we've got a podcast coming called Love Like Crazy, Done Love More. And John's really trying to pin me down on that. And I don't like the actual time commitment. But what I want to do, which is so gosh darn cool, is the minute somebody comes into me with a story, whether they're rich men, poor men, beggar men, or thieves, and they tell me the story, I want to look them in the eye and tell them that I've got a podcast that is bad to the bone, called Love Like Crazy, Then Love More. And I want to film that right now. Not when we've got our hair all combed and we're looking slick. I want to look like I went through the robo wash with the window open. I want to be so raw, so real that people can feel us through the microphone and the camera. talking about what's important in life, and that is you, me, and Dupree. And I am telling you, you are part of that, whether you like it or not, Christopher. We are going to raise the bar of love and unity and get rid of separation and hate across all boundaries on this planet in a hurry. And I love you for coming on this show today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about it. I really appreciate it. You're amazing. What you're doing is amazing. What you do for people is amazing. And I'm so glad our paths crossed. And I can't remember how our paths crossed, Tom. I don't remember where, but I'm glad.
Did I send you one of these yet?
No, I can't wait. I would love one.
All right. So Michelle's going to get your address. We're going to give you the choice of a hoodie or a shirt or a muscle shirt or a sports bra, whatever it is that you want that says love like crazy, then love more, or fire your brain, put swag.contactmapping.com in the deal, will you? Fire your brain, hire your heart. That's another one that we're doing. And the third one is obviously these BLTSs. And the fourth is I Love Misfits. I've got a shirt that I wear all the time called I Love Misfits because I love misfits. Because the crowd I run with every day isn't the hip, slick, and cool. It is the American, not necessarily American, Canadian, Christina, wherever you are, Anad over in Egypt, all of you are the people that are my vibe and my tribe, that I have we all belong together, we love together, we trust together, and we're safe together. And Christopher, you're an honorary member, and I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. You are all of it in a bag of chips. And we're changing the world, and you are absolutely as integral to it as anybody I know. And I just wish I would have had you on Love Like Crazy first. Another reason I want to talk about this for a second. So many people I want to interview in recovery. You know, I'm a 37-year sober 12-step guy, recovery guy. And as a result of that, I hang around with a really cool crowd of people that from every station of life. And so I want to interview them, but legacy leadership is a whole different ballgame because it's kind of about business and motivation and all that stuff. It's not nearly as heart-driven, and the audience isn't nearly as heart-driven to listen as that new show is going to be. So we're coming with that, whether you like it or not. We're writing a book, whether you like it or not. And I can't remember the 3 words of your book, but say it again so people can look for it.
No, like, and trust. No, like, and trust.
No, like, and trust. And what I want you to do, everybody, is follow Christopher on Facebook. Get in the foxhole with him. He is a kindred spirit to me. I love him like a brother. I'm praying for his mom. I'm praying for his daughter. I'm praying for his other 8 kids. I'm praying for his wife. And I'm praying for him. Bang, bang. We'll see you all next week.